The Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs calls for further public comments on the Electoral Amendment Bill. Now, due to the substantive changes the committee intends to make on the bill, the committee is now calling for the public to comment relating solely to the clauses that the committee intends to amend. Now, those submissions have reached the committee by no later than 12 o'clock on midday on Friday, the 16th of September. For more on this, we're joined by Portfolio Committee member Brandon Pillay. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Pillay. We've had some public engagements or comments around this amendment bill previously. Why is it so important for you to call for another round, especially given the fact that we are edging ever so close to the 2024 elections and it seems unlikely that this bill might be placed through?
So basically, the importance of this is because there were substantive changes that had to be made. And in light of substantial changes, it means that you have to then seek permission from the National Assembly to be able to then call for public participation or consultation. And in this instance, there are certain items that were going to be removed in totality from the current amendment bill. And hence, we could not then proceed to make those changes unless we have called for further public participation in respect of only those substantive changes that need to be made.
What are some of those substantive changes that you are looking to be made?
Well, one of the first things I think that, and it was quite a contentious issue, even amongst independents and civil society, was that of a 3-month cooling off period, if you may call it, where in the current form of the Electoral Amendment Bill, it talks about that if you want to register as an independent, you should not have been part of a political party in the past 3 months. It was referred to as a cooling off period. And this time around, in terms of the finality, the committee has actually recommended that we remove that cooling off period. So that is a substantial change, because remember, we're not changing it to 1 month or 2 months, but we are actually removing the cooling off period altogether. And if you're going to remove a clause from the bill, it means then you're going to have to call for public comment before you're able to institute that.
Another one which one might consider important, Mr. Pillay, here is the definition of person to a natural person. And I just want you to maybe furnish our viewers with the details in terms of when we define a natural person, what do we mean? Do we mean a South African citizen solely, or do we mean someone who might have been naturalized after moving here for a while? Maybe furnish us with the details around that comment that you're looking to get from the people with that change.
Well, a natural person, and the reason for having to introduce or include the word natural is purely by natural, meaning born South African citizen or have become a South African citizen.
All right. And so are there any concerns from yourselves or any other related stakeholders around the second round of public commentary taking place, really just putting at risk the notion of independents being able to run in 2024? Does that not concern you at all, that this may delay independents from being a part of the 2024 elections?
So firstly, I must say that there is no risk of having independents not participate in the 2024 elections. We had a constitutional court ruling, and the mandate of the Portfolio Committee and Parliament was to ensure that we include independent candidates. And this is exactly what we have done. The current Electoral Amendment Bill allows for independents to participate in the elections. However, this was not a clean-cut process. There were many clauses that one had to take into consideration. And also, they are going to be following this Electoral Amendment Bill may have other changes on other legislation or pieces of legislation. But our risk of not making sure that we meet that, no. We have no risk. We're definitely going to meet the deadline of December. It is now going to go to the NA after the public participation, to the NCOP before it's proclaimed. And we are confident that we will be able to finalize this bill and then be able to allow for independents to contest in the 2024 elections.
With that proclamation that you've just mentioned, that process, when do you see it finally being in place, as you've just mentioned? Is there some kind of a timeline you could give us, maybe the end of March next year, or are those things that you're going to monitor after December?
Remember that it has to be done before December, because the extension that we received from the court was only for 6 months. And that 6 months extension takes us until December. So we are saying that it has to be completed by December, and we foresee that that will definitely happen. And what about the fact that the IEC was also raising concerns last week around the fact that since the court made the decision giving you the 6 months until December, that because it's not, the 6 months is fast coming to an end, that it wasn't able to be done in that period, but now you're saying you can do it by the end of December. The IEC earlier indicating that they don't think that this is actually going to happen. So you are kind of alleviating or putting those concerns that they have raised aside by saying, no, actually, it's definitely going to be happen. Let me first clarify the narrative and also emphasize that the IEC did not say that it will not be, that we won't be ready for 2024 elections. In fact, what the discussion that emanates from civil society is saying that there must be a complete overhaul of the electoral system, meaning that we should not be using the current electoral system, but rather we should be moving to a constituency-based system. And that's where the IEC has said, we are not ready and will not be able to accomplish a constituency-based system before 2024, but in the current form, and with this Electoral Amendment Bill that we have presented and have finalized, we will allow for independents to participate in 2024. And I think the IEC supported our application for an extension on the basis that we'll be able to finalize the bill in its current form and then allow for participation of independents.
Thank you very much for that clarity. Really appreciate it, Mr. Pillay, for joining us this afternoon. That is Brandon Pillay, who's a member of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, just providing clarity on the timelines given on the Electoral Amendment Bill and the fact that they are confident they'll be able to collate everything that they need to make sure it is finalized by December and that independents can contest in the 2024 elections. Still